Welcome back to the deep dive. So, you've sent us an incredible stack of sources detailing what has to be one of the most chilling and just psychologically complex invasion narratives we've ever come across.
It really is.
We're focusing on the Hanlon family. They're trapped by this massive blizzard, and then on top of that, besieged by an advanced insectoid enemy in, like, the most isolated part of northern Maine.
And it's so much more than just a siege. It's this terrifying collision between really deep human trauma and this kind of cosmic absurdity.
Exactly.
So our mission today really is to dissect the incredible sensory details that Don Hanlon recorded. We're going to analyze the aliens' bizarre, almost contradictory strategy,
Yeah.
especially its critical weakness.
Right.
And then, ultimately, we have to grapple with the shocking philosophical truth that's revealed by the sole survivor. I mean, it completely reframes our understanding of life, death, and sanity itself.
Okay, let's get into it. And we have to start with the physical context, because the setting here isn't just a backdrop. It's basically a cage.
It's a whole foundation of the story.
Yeah. We are at Timberlake Farm, deep in the woods of northern Maine. And when we say remote, this is, absolute isolation. We're talking a 300-acre property, and the house itself sits 2 miles from the nearest neighbor.
2 miles of deep snow and 11 miles from the closest town, Barley.
11. So that degree of isolation is, it's the foundational vulnerability, isn't it?
It is. So
Yeah.
when the first major blizzard of the year hits on December 12th, the Hanlons are just instantly cut off.
Yeah.
You have to picture it. There's an initial blanket of 8 inches of old snow that's already there, and then this massive new fall just piles on top of it.
Yeah.
So the power and communication failure that follows isn't just an inconvenience.
No, it's catastrophic. It's a total severing from civilization. They are completely alone, and you get the sense that the enemy knows it. And the terror, it starts so subtly right there in the woods, which Don usually finds, restorative and peaceful. It's Wednesday afternoon. Don and his 10-year-old son, Toby, are out tracking animals. Foxes, weasels, squirrels. Just a normal, gentle winter activity. And that's when they find the first oddity.
The tracks.
The tracks. Toby, who knows all the local animals, he immediately says they're funny.
And funny is such an understatement. What's so crucial here is that the tracks themselves had what the source calls an indefinable alien quality. So Don isn't just looking at a weird animal print. He's feeling this deep, innate sense of unease.
Right.
And the source details the spoor so meticulously. That precision alone tells you how intensely the survivors must have studied these patterns, trying to make sense of them.
Okay, so let's really visualize this for you, the learner. A single print, right? It had 8 separate indentations. It's a very precise, very non-mammalian pattern.
Totally unnatural.
You have 3 small, evenly spaced holes in a line. Then there's a second set of 3 holes, parallel to the first, about 2 feet away.
And then in front of all that,
a yard in front of those 6 little holes, you have 2 much larger indentations. The source describes them as being the size of the bottom of a water glass. It's just this. Colossal, multi-limbed creature moving with a totally unnatural gait.
So Don, being the rationalist, he tries to dismiss it. Maybe it's a large bird, some local creature he hasn't seen before. But the size, the pattern,
Yeah.
there's just no known parallel. It becomes impossible.
But the real shift, the moment it goes from just curiosity to actual fright, that happens when he realizes what the creature was doing.
Exactly. The prints stop halfway up a slope, and the snow there is all trampled in a circle.
Meaning what exactly?
Meaning the creature had been standing there for a long time, just moving back and forth a little bit, watching the farmhouse.
Oh, wow.
Watching the farmhouse where his wife Connie was alone the entire afternoon. So it's not just about some unidentified creature anymore. It's the realization that they were being deliberately, actively surveyed.
For hours, maybe.
Maybe. And that's the moment the psychological siege really begins.
And then Wednesday evening, it gets so much more intense. The agitation of the animals, it just confirms this feeling of surveillance. Don goes out to the barn. It's warm in there, 69 degrees, and he's checking on their 3 horses. Kate, Betty, and Toby's little pony, Blueberry. And these animals aren't just, skittish.
No, they are violently agitated. The source says, leaping and snorting more furiously than ever. They are reacting to a presence that the humans can't even see yet.
It's like an early warning system.
It is. And it's while he's trying to calm them down that he happens to catch a glimpse of something outside the barn's only window.
The lights?
The lights, 2 of them. He describes them as dim, warm, amber lights that pulse and that shimmer and then just vanish. with a quick blink.
So he rushes outside into this brutal Arctic wind, and he finds exactly what he was afraid of. The ground outside that window is just littered with a great many of those 8-pointed tracks.
Which means the creature hadn't just passed by. It had been stationary. It was moving back and forth, finding better vantage points, watching him the whole time he was inside with the horses.
Just monitoring his every move.
And that specific moment, that's the catalyst for Dawn's internal crisis. The feeling of being so relentlessly stalked. It triggers this immediate, visceral Vietnam flashback.
Oh, okay.
It's that feeling of knowing an intelligent enemy is out there watching you, assessing your weaknesses, just waiting for the perfect moment to strike. The psychological pattern of being hunted is identical, whether it's in the jungle or a snowstorm.
And the fear shifts, right? It goes from fear of the unknown to fear of an organized, intelligent enemy.
Precisely.
And the final confirmation for them comes that same evening. Toby is terrified. He saw something at the living room window. And he says, big yellow eyes as big around as my whole hand, really big, looking straight at me.
A child's description, which makes it even more terrifying.
It does. Dawn goes to check, and sure enough, those same 8-pointed tracks are right there on the front porch, pressed up against the glass.
So the pattern is established. First, tracks out in the isolation of the woods, then surveillance at the barn, and now it's intimate. It's active menace right on the front porch watching the child.
The entity is making its presence known. It's confirming it knows exactly where they are.
It knows everything.
So this brings us to Don Hanlon himself and why he reacts with such clarity but also such profound fear. It's his history. This isn't just some writer living in the woods.
Not at all. He's a veteran. He spent 2 years in the Army, 18 months of that in Southeast Asia.
And what came after is just as important. Over 2 years in mental hospitals, in sanitariums, dealing with what the source describes as a quasi-catatonic trance.
And we should probably slow down on that diagnosis for a moment, for you, the learner. A quasi-catatonic trance isn't just depression or PTSD as we might think of it.
It's more severe.
Much more. It implies a state of extreme withdrawal. The body is mostly inert, silent, as the mind just shuts down to protect itself from this overwhelming trauma. So Don survived the physical war, but the mental war nearly broke him for good.
So this history, it doesn't make him weak here. It actually means he has this unparalleled, painful familiarity with real malice, with the complete collapse of reality.
Exactly. He rebuilt his entire life on 2 core philosophical truths that he learned from the war. First, death is real and final.
And second,
the world is a madhouse. So when he encounters this intelligent, murderous entity, his first impulse isn't disbelief. It's this grim, almost immediate acceptance.
he's seen the madhouse before.
He has. And so his first reaction is to try and rationalize it, to categorize the threat. He tries to call Sam Caldwell, a local woodsman, an expert, to see if he can identify the tracks. He's looking for external validation.
But he can't get it. The isolation is complete. The lines fail simultaneously. The electricity and the telephone, because of the blizzard. The universe, or maybe the aliens, they've just cut off his rational escape route.
He can't rely on civilization anymore. No experts, no help.
And this forces his hand. It forces this immediate psychological choice.
Mm.
Despite all the progress he's made with his therapist, Dr. Cohen, the threat is just too real, too immediate. Don has to go and get the loaded .38 automatic pistol.
And the source details his intense struggle with this.
Mm-hmm.
He's terrified that just handling a weapon again will send him straight back into that catatonia, that he'll be paralyzed right when his family needs him most.
It's a terrible choice, isn't it? Risk his own mental health to protect his family, or risk his family to protect his sanity.
And he chooses action. The gun is loaded. The survival instinct overrides that hard-won philosophical commitment to peace. And that signals the real shift, from just observation to preparing for a desperate final stand.
Okay, so moving into Thursday morning. The nature of the threat, it shifts again. It's no longer just surveillance. It becomes lethal consumption.
Yeah.
Don goes back to the barn, and the first thing that hits him is the deathly quiet.
It's always the quiet that's the worst.
The surviving horse, Kate, is just traumatized. The source says she's dull and stupid and empty. Her spirit is gone. And Blueberry, the pony, is gone completely.
But it's worse than that. The other mare, Betty, she's dead, but not attacked. She died of sheer, unimaginable terror. Her eyes are bulging, her lips are drawn back. It's a horrific sight.
And this is where we get the alien's specific biological signature, this peculiar odor.
Yes. The source calls it ammonia, something like ammonia, but not unpleasant, vague and sweet ammonia.
That's such a strange detail. Ammonia is so sharp, so chemical. But to describe it as vague and sweet, it suggests something organic, maybe a byproduct of a completely alien metabolism.
It does. And this specific scent becomes the recurring marker of the invaders' presence. It's their signature.
So it's that sensory clue that immediately says, this is not from Earth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And Don follows those 8-pointed tracks into a clearing nearby, and what he finds there is, well, it's truly shocking.
Blueberry's remains.
He finds a complete skeleton. It's stained yellow and brown, and there is not a single scrap of flesh or gristle adhering to the bones.
Not a scrap. I mean, we're talking about a process that is surgically clean. There was no blood, no gore. It looks as if the pony was dipped in some powerful, fast-acting acid, but somehow the bones themselves are still intact.
And this is a critical technical insight into how these things prey on other creatures.
Yeah.
A typical predator on Earth, it kills for food and leaves a mess. Blood, organs, scattered remains.
Right.
This creature, it requires, or maybe just demands, a sterile, immediate, complete processing of its prey. It's like an industrialized form of consumption.
So Don realizes immediately that whatever this thing is, it's strong enough to carry off a 700-pound pony.
And strip it clean almost instantly.
Yeah.
This is not a wolf or a bear.
And this is the moment where the physical terror meets the mental invasion. As he's staring at this impossible skeleton, the psychological siege just breaks through his defenses completely.
He feels what he calls a curious pressure against my eyes and then against my entire skull. And this pressure starts to move inside his mind, trying to form an image of the yellow-eyed animal.
It's the ultimate invasion. It's not just a physical attack anymore.
It is a violation of the self. And it triggers what the source calls an almost biological fear. It drives him temporarily insane. He's screaming, running blindly, tearing at his hair.
He describes the sensation of something hairy and damp slithering over the wet surface of my brain. Like it's trying to establish a connection, or worse, dig in.
It suggests the creature isn't just projecting thoughts, it is physically probing his consciousness. Maybe looking for information or just assessing his mind as a potential tool.
And his body just reacts violently to try and expel it.
It does. And as he escapes the woods, the raw terror subsides a little, and he says a more rational, much more manageable fear returns. And that's when he gets the visual confirmation that this is technological.
The purple light.
A brilliant purple light flashed far away in the forest, at least a mile away. It flashes 3 times in quick succession, like a lighthouse or a coded signal.
So this isn't just a beast. This is a highly intelligent technological species, and they have a base of operations.
An established base. Don runs back and tells Connie and Toby about the mental probe and the flashing light. And despite his own history of mental instability, the conclusion is now unshakable. A space monster is the only logical answer.
There's a profound irony in that, isn't there? For a man who defined his sanity by recovering from the horrors of war, the idea of literal aliens is actually less destabilizing than the uncertainty of the past few hours.
Absolutely. The physical evidence,
Yeah.
clean skeleton, the pulsing lights, it makes the cosmic invasion a fact, not a hallucination. It's something he can fight.
Okay, so the concept is cemented. The alien is intelligent, it uses telepathy, it kills with clinical precision, and it's operating from a secure base. Which brings us to the second theft that very same evening.
They're methodical.
Dawn goes back to the barn to bring Kate, the last horse, inside for safety. But her stall is empty, and her hoof prints lead directly toward the forest, just like Blueberry's did.
So Dawn deduces that the alien must have used mind control. It mesmerized the horse, denied its willpower to lead it away without a struggle. They avoided the chaotic, noisy death that Betty had.
And he also realizes he's not dealing with a single creature anymore. He sees new tracks, and it suggests there are now aliens, plural, at least 2 or 3, coordinating their predatory schedule.
And the calculation he makes then is just horrific, but it's necessary.
Blueberry was lunch.
Kate is supper.
What do they want for breakfast?
The family.
So Dawn resolves they have to find a way to communicate, a communications bridge, before they become the next meal. He's desperate to find a reason for all this beyond just protein consumption.
Right. If they're intelligent enough for telepathy and coordinated attacks, they must have some higher purpose. But if they only want the protein, then he knows the war is already lost.
The threat is fully realized. Staying means certain death. But leaving seems impossible in this blizzard.
They're trapped. Connie and Don realize they can't wait out the storm. The lines could be down for a week. So they make the critical decision. Don has to hike the 2 miles to the Johnson farm to try and get help.
And as he's preparing to leave, we get this really fascinating insight into his mindset as a writer. He remembers those 2 lessons from Vietnam. Death is real and final, and the world is a madhouse.
And he makes a promise to himself. He commits to writing a second book if he survives this, not for fame, but as a cathartic necessity, to cleanse my soul of the stain of the violence he knows is coming.
He even wonders if the story has to be told for the aliens themselves, even if they would just see books as meaningless, primitive things.
It's the writer's mandate, isn't it? To impose order and narrative onto chaos, even cosmic chaos.
So pragmatically, they come up with a plan for Toby's escape later. A traditional sled just won't work in that deep snow.
No, the runners would just sink.
So they decide to use a big piece of heavy canvas tarp from the basement, reinforced with wire. It creates a surface that'll distribute his weight better, almost like a primitive snowshoe sled.
It's really clever, a testament to their ingenuity under that kind of pressure.
And Connie, she takes this grim but necessary precaution.
With Toby.
Yeah. Given how vulnerable he was to the mind probe, she decides to powder one of her sleeping tablets and put it in his breakfast cocoa. The idea is that a sedated, slower mind might be less accessible to the aliens' control while Dawn is gone.
The fact that they have to drug their own child just shows the horrific extremes they're facing.
So Dawn finally sets out, and by 10 in the morning, he reaches the Johnson farm. And the source describes what he finds not just as a tragedy, but as a clairvoyant vision, a premonition of our own fate.
It's Timberlake Farm, but after the end.
The rear door is wide open. Snow is drifting across the kitchen floor. The whole house is freezing cold. And the front door has been brutally smashed in. The hinges just snapped like pencil lead.
And that contrast is striking, isn't it? These creatures can perform these surgically clean kills and use telepathy, yet they rely on such brutal physical force to get into the house.
Yeah, if they can mesmerize a horse, why not just mesmerize a person to unlock the door or melt the lock? This brute force approach suggests their arrogance or maybe a limitation to their power.
It definitely hints at inconsistencies.
Mm-hmm.
And inside, the meticulous carnage continues. Upstairs, the master bedroom is destroyed, and Dawn finds the skeleton of Molly Johnson, completely stripped of flesh.
The same method.
The exact same method.
Yeah.
And the livestock massacre in the barn, it just confirms the scale, the efficiency of this operation. 16 cow skeletons, still in their milking bays.
They were stripped so fast the restraining ropes were still intact around their skeletal necks.
Even Garbo, the family's German shepherd, is just a skeleton on the sill. Ed Johnson's skeleton is by the pickup truck outside. No survivors, only bone and the memory of terror.
But then, in the middle of all this destruction, Dawn finds the one critical clue. The thing that turns this from panic defense into strategic warfare.
The generator shed.
He finds it locked. And inside is what he calls the most curious sight. The frozen carcass of a massive black bull. It's covered in deep cuts and frozen blood, and it's slumped against the generator.
The bull wasn't consumed. It died in a violent, messy, physical battle, completely unlike all the other clean kills.
It looks like the bull just self-destructed in this mindless rage against the generator machinery, damaging it severely. Why? Why only the bull, and why was the generator the target?
This is the aha moment. This is what saves Don's family. So Don, he grabs weapons from Ed Johnson's gun case,
Yeah?
a rifle, a shotgun. He knows he has to fight.
And on the grueling trek back, as he's finally back at Timberlake eating soup around midnight, he connects the dots. The bull destroying the Johnson's generator and the failure of their own system at the same time.
And the conclusion is staggering. The aliens must have orchestrated the destruction of the heat sources. It wasn't just the storm. It was calculated sabotage.
And this forms the big hypothesis, the thing that unlocks the aliens' critical weakness.
The creatures can't tolerate warmth. They must come from an extremely cold planet. They need the house temperature to drop below freezing before they can safely enter and hunt the family.
So the very blizzard that made the Hanlons vulnerable
Is the exact condition the aliens need to thrive.
So Don realizes that the fire he was about to build isn't just for comfort anymore, it's their primary defense, their only defense.
They have to fight the cooling of that stone farmhouse with every log they have. The most primitive element, fire, becomes their most advanced weapon against a species that can cross the stars.
The kind of irony that could only exist in a madhouse universe.
Exactly.
So the knowledge is there, but the clock is ticking, the house is cooling, and the aliens know their window of opportunity is opening.
And the final, coordinated attack comes between midnight and 1 a.m. Outside, 6 aliens line up, just waiting for that critical temperature drop.
Glass shatters, and Dawn finally gets a clear, terrifying look at them. They're huge, insect-like beings, a cross between a praying mantis and a grasshopper, standing 7 feet tall,
Thick bodies, chitinous legs that look like metal, those saucer-sized amber eyes, and constantly working saw-edged mandibles.
And the physical evidence of their weakness is right there on their bodies. They're shedding these paper-thin sheets of ice as they move. The simple friction of movement is warming them up just enough to cause external freezing.
They are biological engines built for deep cold.
The battle is brutal. 4 of them attack through the windows at the same time. And Dawn, using the shotgun, finds out how effective its sheer force is. The rifle fire wasn't doing much against their tough carapaces.
But the shotgun blast, the wall of wind spread, it blows one of them into a dozen pieces.
And the fire defense is immediately tested. Connie proves it works. She drops her rifle, grabs a burning log, a huge primitive torch, and she just threatens the nearest alien with it.
And it shrieks. It backs away rapidly, absolutely terrified of the heat.
But before that one retreats, it reaches for a bandolier on its back and grabs some kind of tubular device.
Which is a critical observation. It confirms they have advanced weaponry. But in that moment, it chose not to use it because it feared the heat from the log more than a human bullet.
And the hypothesis is confirmed absolutely when Connie throws the burning branch. The alien just instantly ignites. It burns like a gasoline-soaked torch.
Fire is absolute death to them.
The defense works, but the whole thing was a feint, a distraction.
And the realization hits Dawn and Connie at the exact same time, silencing their brief victory. Where's Toby?
They find the outer sun porch door is open, and in the snow, Toby's small footprints are mixed with those 8 hold tracks. The aliens sacrificed 4 of their own.
4 high-value, intelligent lives.
Just to create a diversion and grab the boy.
That changes everything. They're not just predators. They are strategic thinkers, willing to pay a heavy price for what they want. And they wanted Toby because they already knew his mind was the most vulnerable.
So Dawn and Connie, armed, they pursue the tracks into the woods, heading right for where they saw that purple light, the invasion base.
And they find it, the alien vessel. It's a stunning, enormous sphere, at least 150 feet in diameter, made of this seamless pearl gray material. It gives off a cold light, and it's surrounded by a shield that stops the wind and snow completely.
The technological gap is just immense. They were fighting these things with shotguns and burning sticks moments ago, and now they're facing a ship that defies all known engineering.
And this is where the tragedy peaks. Before they can do anything, an alien attacks Connie from behind. It reveals this wicked yard-long stinger that folds out of its belly. It's bright green, dripping venom.
And it plunges it right into her stomach.
She's dead instantly. And Don's reaction, it just brings back all his old trauma. He goes into the state of screaming, grief-fueled madness. He thinks murder is always easier than judicious, reasoned action.
The supposedly superior intellect still relies on the most base, brutal act of all.
And before Don can be killed, the alien just exerts its full power. It takes complete control of his mind and pushes him into darkness.
The telepathic invasion is complete, but it's not lethal. The objective has changed from killing to communication.
Right.
So when Don wakes up, he's back in his den, and the electric power has been mysteriously restored. An alien is standing there, but it's using Toby as a translator and loudspeaker. The voice coming from his son is cold and utterly alien.
And the alien explains the problem they have. They can't control an adult human mind because of the sheer level of our fear and disgust. The mental complexity of a traumatized adult is just too much for them to overcome.
So they have to use the boy. His mind is cleaner, more pliable, less repulsive to them.
And the communication is just devastating. The alien confirms Don is a writer and demands that he write a book about everything that happened, the entire ordeal, in 3 Earth days.
It's a test, an assessment tool. They want to gauge human worthiness and our evolutionary level.
And they explain that they absorbed human language from all the minds they invaded. Don's, Connie's, the Johnsons. So this manuscript is the final exam. They need to see if the human response to terror is just base survival or if there's something higher there.
The terms are simple and brutal. Don agrees, desperate to save Toby. The alien only guarantees that he will write the book. No promise of life for either of them.
And the fact that they repaired the generator just so he could type, it confirms their immense technological power. They can manipulate our infrastructure, even if they can't tolerate the heat it produces.
With the mandate delivered, the aliens leave. And they take Toby with them, leaving Don alone in that frozen house with his grief and a 3-day deadline to prove the worth of his entire species.
He's forced into the most profound, high-stakes writing assignment imaginable.
Driven by desperation, grief, bourbon, and the ticking clock, Don just throws himself into it. He finishes 180 pages in 3 days. He's fueled by caffeine and amphetamines, just fighting to stay awake.
He's burned out, he's hallucinating, but he finished the document.
The aliens return with Toby. The air in the den immediately chills. They'd turned off the heat before coming inside, which just reaffirms their weakness.
Mm-hmm.
They declare that they've read the manuscript, and their verdict is just crushing. They say they learned that Don would not understand.
And their final assessment is that they do not believe humans are intelligent creatures. They call us barbaric, crude, disgusting.
Just overly complicated, violent animals.
But there's this strange caveat. They admit there was the slightest chance they're wrong. They see us as a possible, exceedingly strange manifestation of the universal force of awareness.
It's an evaluation that places us somewhere between, what, a clever insect and a biological curiosity.
Pretty much. So Don, despite all this, he pushes for some kind of hope, a promise of life. But the alien just changes the subject. It says they only want to set the record straight about the Johnsons.
And Don, he's clinging to his one remaining philosophical truth, and he insists that death is final. And this is the moment the Toby alien delivers the bomb that just destroys Don's entire worldview.
The foundation he rebuilt his life on, that absolute certainty of finality, is just obliterated in 2 words.
It never is.
It never is. They explain how they survive. The 4 comrades, Don killed with a shotgun. They had their brains removed. They reside in these impregnable pods beneath the carapace, and they were placed into newly cultured bodies.
So they live. Death for their species isn't an end, it's a logistical challenge.
And that detail is fascinating. These huge creatures are killed instantly by fire, yet their core consciousness is encased in a pod that's impregnable to a shotgun blast. It's a massive disparity.
It suggests their evolution completely prioritized preserving the intellect over the durability of the physical body. Their bodies are sacrificial, designed for the cold, but their minds are eternal.
So when Dawn asks the obvious, excruciating question, did they build a new body for Connie? The alien just responds, that was not necessary. There are other methods.
And Don, he's grasping at straws now. He demands to know what these other methods are.
And the alien gives the ultimate frustrating dismissal. It says, if you were an intelligent creature, you would already know them. You would not understand it.
That refusal just hammers home their final judgment. We might be clever enough to write books and use fire, but we're too primitive to grasp the fundamental nature of existence.
Our concepts of guilt, loss, linear time, they're all meaningless to them. They announce they're leaving Earth within the hour. They have no desire to learn anything more from a species they find so disgusting.
So the final conclusion for Don Hanlon is that his life's lessons were half right. Toby is released, and the alien reveals that Connie is upstairs, sedated and restored.
His first truth is gone. Death is not final.
But his second truth is more powerfully validated than ever. But the universe is still a madhouse.
It's even more insane now, because life is no longer this precious finite resource. They've been restored, but the reality of it is, as the source says, a lunatic's planning, the purpose of a spastic planner.
The cosmic forces in control, whether alien or natural, are random, cruel, and operate without any logic that humans can comprehend.
And the family reunites in laughter. But it's not laughter of relief or joy. It's described as a maniacal but undeniably happy laughter. It's a hysterical acceptance of the absurd, terrifying new reality they inhabit.
They survived, but they survived into a truth that makes no sense.
It's the ultimate thematic resolution. The man who is broken by the certainty of death in a meaningless world is healed by the revelation of unending life in an equally meaningless but utterly insane universe.
What an incredible arc. I mean, this deep dive has just revealed this high-stakes gamble. We started with a veteran dealing with his PTSD, fighting this brutal siege rooted in physical trauma and isolation.
And we end with a high-concept science fiction scape where the most basic human certainty, the finality of death, is just completely overturned by the very beings who committed the acts of violence.
It forces you to reconsider the definition of morality, of intelligence. The aliens see our concepts of guilt as incomprehensible, yet they operate with this arbitrary, murderous cruelty, which is then followed by a capacity for godlike restoration.
Right. They see us as crude and barbaric, yet they commit mass murder just to test an environment, and then they sacrifice their own people for a piece of information.
The narrative takes Don's two core philosophies and just weaponizes them against each other. Death is not final, gives you hope and perpetuity, but that perpetuity exists within the framework that the world is still a madhouse.
Survival doesn't equal peace. It just means you get more time in the asylum.
And that, I think, is the final knot we have to leave for you to untangle, the learner. This alien species, they possess the capability to transfer consciousness, to restore the dead, to master life itself. True cosmic knowledge.
Yet their entire predatory strategy and their ultimate defeat hinged on their complete inability to withstand simple warmth. Fire. A basic vulnerability that very few species on Earth even share. So what does this massive disparity, this biological fragility coupled with mastery over life and death, what does that suggest about the priorities of intelligence? Are we really ready to judge what constitutes a superior life form based on technological achievement alone?
Maybe their ultimate flaw wasn't technical at all.
Maybe it was strategic, a complete failure to truly comprehend the simplest weapon of their enemy.